guys! Today I'm going to do the same painting using two very different supplies. Crayola has been around since 1903, so they're doing a lot of things right. They make art accessible to everyone, and I think that's such a good thing. Just about every craft store, department store, or even corner store carries supplies by Crayola. I buy their markers and paper for my kids, and it's awesome to know that my kids can crank out mass quantities of creativity without breaking the bank of mom. This set of Crayola 16 washable watercolors is just $3.49 at Target. That's about 21 cents per paint color. Now, in contrast, for my expensive paints, I'm using the Schmincke set of 12 half pans. It's $79 at Jackson's Art Supply and about the same price on Amazon, which averages out to $6.58 per paint color. That's more than 30 times as expensive as Crayola. Now, the Schmincke Art Company has been around since 1881. It's a German company that prides itself in using the highest quality materials possible. So when you buy Schmincke, you know it's going to be good. A lot of people ask me, so if I'm just starting out with watercolors, why can't I just use the super cheap paint just to see if I even like it? Do I really need to invest in something more expensive? Well, in today's video, I want to answer that question and just show you what is possible with both cheap paints and expensive paints. I'll share with you guys the pros and cons of each and my overall thoughts on paint quality in general. And when you compare the two paintings side by side, they really do look similar. In fact, when I showed my husband the finished demo and asked him, "Which one do you think is Crayola?" he pointed to the wrong one. So if you can get great results using super cheap paint, why would you spend more? Well, stick around to the end because I'm going to show you some pretty convincing reasons why I think it's worth spending a little bit extra on your watercolor paints. Now, to keep the playing field as even as possible, I'm doing these two versions of this blue and gold macaw on the same sheet of paper. For my paper, I'm using the good stuff. It's 140-pound cold pressed cotton watercolor paper by Fabriano. If you want to know more about watercolor paper and why I think it's better to spend a little more on this one art supply, check out this video. I used transfer paper to make sure the initial sketch was exactly the same for both, and I decided as an extra challenge I'd also use the brush that comes with each respective set, and to be honest, this is what made me the most nervous about using the Crayola set. The brush is this super cheap plastic handle brush made in China, and right away it was shedding hairs all over the place. I started with the wet and wet technique, painting clean water all over the area on the macaw that is going to be yellow. I was actually pleasantly surprised by the vibrancy of this yellow color. I think based on foggy memories as a child using these paints when I was a kid, I expected the yellow to be more feeble and pasty, but to my delight, the yellow and the yellow-orange were both richly colored, and they actually didn't require a whole lot of activation or scrubbing with the brush to lift them from the pan. Now, I don't normally use black watercolor, but in an effort to make a quick and easy gray, I used the black for the area under the beak. When it came in contact with the yellow on my brush, it actually looked rather green, which would suggest that this black has a blue undertone. Oops, more loose bristle hairs. Next, I mixed up a muted pink using a diluted red to paint the skin around the eye, and then some more pigmented black for the lower portion of the beak. The black seemed a lot harder to activate in order to get a really dark color. So I tried mixing my own black by combining the brown, the dark blue, and the red. Something I noticed too about these paints is that they felt, what's the best word for it? Slimy? Definitely not smooth and buttery like my normal watercolor paints. Next, I painted the brightly colored feathers, starting with those bright greens on the top of the head. They are so bright, almost fluorescent. And the blues in the Crayola set are actually really fun to use, super bright and vibrant, almost unearthly brilliant. I felt like these Crayola blues really accurately captured the color of the macaw. Although I was definitely struggling with the slimy texture of the paint and the low quality brush, I felt like I could still create fun little details like wet and wet dark shadows in the feathers using the purple and the dark blue. My lines were definitely less refined than I would have liked, but this was just because this brush was physically incapable of coming to a fine point. I tried to approach this painting exactly as I normally would do with my good quality paints, and although I did not enjoy the feel of the paints or the brush shedding hairs, overall I realized I could still create a pretty convincing and beautiful painting using these pans. Now keep in mind, these Crayola paints cost less than $1 per color. Now I actually went down a Google rabbit hole trying to figure out what these paints are actually made from, and I couldn't find any specific info on that. So if you happen to know what pigment and binders Crayola uses, leave me a comment below. I was able to layer some colors pretty easily using the Crayola paints. I used black to add the eye details and used the brown and the yellow-orange colors just to add more feather details to the bird's breast. Lastly, I wanted to see how well these paints do with wet and wet background washes. So I used black and brown for the background. The brown, more shedding, definitely leans more red, kind of like my Daniel Smith burnt sienna color. Once again, I struggled mostly with the slimy, bubbly feel of the paint, and I felt like it needed some extra finesse and scrubbing just to get the colors to merge nicely in the background. All told though, this Crayola painting went way better than I expected. Next up, I used my Schmincke pan set of 12 colors, which comes with a Da Vinci round brush size 5. It's actually a travel brush, so it's retractable. And as you can see, these paints have already gotten lots of love. I take them with me when I'm traveling or plein air painting. And the metal tin has tons of mixing space. It also sits nicely in my magnetic pochade box. Now, I approached the start of this painting the same way as the first, using wet and wet to paint the yellow feathers first. I used the lemon yellow color and was really pleased with how vibrant this looked next to the Crayola yellow. Next, I used this cadmium red light to paint the dark shadows in the yellow feathers. So far, the two paintings were looking really similar. I did appreciate having the option of yellow ochre in this set for creating more earthy yellows in the feathers. Also, it was a total relief using a brush that actually responds and can hold a fine point and doesn't lose bristles. One of the biggest differences between these two paintings is simply the quality of brushwork. You can see how having a nicer brush makes it so much easier to control your details and produce fine lines. For the green feathers on the top of the head, I used a little bit of both greens, this permanent green olive and phthalo green. They are so gorgeous and vibrant. Now, when it was time to paint the blue feathers, I used a combination of both blues, ultramarine blue and Prussian blue. Although these blues are gorgeous, richly pigmented, and have that soft, flowy consistency that makes quality paint such a joy to use, they are noticeably less vibrant than the Crayola blue. With this set, I just could not achieve the same fluorescent blue that the Crayola blues produced, and so in that sense, my second painting looked a little, not duller necessarily, but maybe more natural and less brilliant for sure. I used the ivory black to paint the darkest details like the feather shadows, and it was much more workable and definitely more pigmented than the Crayola black. Finally, I tried to choose the same background colors for my second rendition of the macaw. I used this English Venetian red, which is similar to burnt sienna, and a little bit of ultramarine blue to create the gray color. The Schmincke paint performs much better wet and wet and requires less babysitting to get the colors to disperse smoothly on the paper. So there are the two finished paintings side by side. I think if someone were to show me these and ask which one was cheap paint versus expensive, I don't think I'd be able to tell. They are remarkably similar. Now, to answer that question, if you can still make a great painting with Crayola, why not just use cheap paints? So for my final test, I taped this painting to my north-facing studio window, and just 18 days later, it's pretty clear why Crayola fails this test. Now, to the brand's credit, the yellow still looks amazing. I was very impressed by how vibrant the yellow still is, but check out how badly faded the blues, the blacks, and the browns are. Nothing like how it looked right after we painted this. And this is just less than 3 weeks later. The Schmincke artwork, however, held up beautifully under the window light and has not noticeably changed at all. In summary, if you only intend to use watercolors for journaling or for crafts that will not involve displaying your art, by all means use cheap paint. And if super fluorescent or neon colors are your jam, you'll most likely need to purchase watercolors that are dye-based, which means they won't be light fast. If, however, the longevity of your paintings is important to you, you want them to last a long time, you want to be able to show and display them in frames, definitely check out the light fast rating on the paints that you intend to buy, and you'll most likely need to invest a little more in your paints. Now, $79 is a lot to pay for just 12 small half pans, so my next best recommendation is the Winsor & Newton Cotman pan sets. This particular set is currently less than $20 on Amazon, and these are great paints, much better quality than most student grade paints, and a lot more affordable than some of the more luxury art brands. You can see I use my Cotman set a lot too. Finally, I think it's pretty clear that having a decent brush really makes a difference. If you decide to paint with Crayola, throw out the brush. I recommend purchasing a high quality synthetic round brush, such as Silver Black Velvet, Princeton Neptune, Escoda, or Da Vinci. It will last you many years and save you from many headaches. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video, and check out these other videos about watercolor painting and supplies, and I'll see you in the next one.